Okay, applied economics. We are going to start this course today. In this semester, we are going to learn about that how economics can be applied on different kinds of economic issues. Like a very important question that every student asks all the time is that what is the application of economics? Whatever we study in theory and whatever we study in these all microeconomics, macroeconomics, development economics, agricultural economics books, are there and we have do we have got any applications of them? Yes, you have got a lot of applications of economics, and economics is such a useful science which has got so much applications. Like up the time you wake up in the morning till the time you go to sleep, we all actually have got so many decisions to make, and economics literally helps in all of those decisions. Economics can be applied in all of them. Economics can be used to improve our decision making, and not only our personal decisions, but also like the decisions at some bigger levels, like say for example your household level, your council level, your city level, your provincial levels, your country level, and internationally. Economics is everywhere. Like it's all the war of economics. If you see that America was present in Afghanistan for the last 20 years, but it couldn't bow these all Afghanis to them with their all might, ammunition might. But after that, when they left, and they implied, imposed sanctions, a lot of things basically changed, and they brought, so many things of their choice on the cards and on the agendas of the meeting, and they have been able to dictate their terms in so many instances. So it's all economics. Economics basically has got a lot of applications. Whatever we do, whatever we are working with, whatever we are performing, you are basically, we always need economics. So economics, I call this applied economics, specifically as the name suggests. Economics actually, if I don't think basically we have to use some kind of applied word with economics to see that how much applicable economics is and what are the applications of economics. Economics itself is very, very applied course. From the day one you are studying economics, you must have realized that this economics would have brought a lot of changes in your thinking. You can apply this economic thinking on every single thing that you do all the time. Whenever you take a decision, as we have discussed earlier on as well in the previous lectures or in the previous semesters, that when you make any decision, you always weigh the costs and benefits of that decisions. What is the cost of this decision and what is the benefit of this decision? Like say for example, again, you are spending time with us, you have chosen to spend your time with us, and now you have taken a decision to spend this time with us. Now when you are spending this time with us, you are not spending the same time somewhere else. Like say for example, like you could spend that time with your family, you could spend that time working in your office, you could spend that time at gym, you can spend the time anywhere. So what you have done, basically you have chosen to spend this time here. Now why have you chosen to spend this time here? Because in your view, what should be the case, that you should have got more benefits from here than the costs that basically you are having there, so the value that you're getting from somewhere else. This applied economics course, if you look at the definition of applied economics, according to Investopedia, it's a website that you perhaps visit for different understanding of different terminologies. Applied economics, and perhaps this will make you clear about that why is like this course, why you are studying this applied economics course on top of this microeconomics course and macroeconomics course that you have already done. This applied economics applies the conclusions from economic theories and empirical studies to real world situations with the desired aim of informing economic decisions and predicting possible outcomes. Now, if you look at these all points, they are very, very important points. Like say, for example, what actually the applied economics it does, it first of all, it applies the conclusions drawn from economic theories. Theories are based on theories, academia, it's like, understanding. They are basically theoretical models. But when you bring them to the world, like say, for example, you have studied the law of demand, you have studied law of supply, you have studied different kinds of macroeconomic issues as well. these all issues, when you just look into the theory of these all subjects or these all topics, you find, like, of course, they are basically, like, based on some kind of assumptions, and these assumptions are sometimes valid and are not valid in the real world. जिस तरह आप say, for example, when you think about the law of demand, what you are taught about the law of demand is keeping other factors constant, right? But keeping other factors constant, if price of any commodity increases, what happens with its demand, quantity demand? It decreases. All right. But what do you observe? What do you observe in your real life? You observe in your real life that the prices are increasing as well as your
Vice
demand.
versa.
Yeah, नहीं, देखिए आपके पास आपका जो है वो आपकी डिमांड भी इंक्रीज कर रही है, प्राइस भी इंक्रीज कर रहा है, बहुत सारी
Price
चीजों
also
के
increase
जी
है.
प्राइस के अब अभी आप देखें, अब इस वक्त आपके पास एक मुल्क में इन्फ्लेशन है, प्राइसेस इंक्रीज कर रहे हैं, लेकिन साथ साथ चीजों की डिमांड भी इंक्रीज कर रही है. आप देखें ना, इस वक्त बहुत ज्यादा लोग जो है वो इन्वॉल्व हैं ये फास्ट फूड के बिजनेसेस में, बेइंतहा लोग जो है वो जॉब कर रहे हैं, इनके पास they all basically are working because people are increasing their demand for the junk food and these kind of food, which is a lot more expensive than their regular food. Their demands is increasing, although their prices are also increasing. Why is this happening? You see, like, there are so many things for which demand decrease when their price decreases. Like, there are so many kind of fancy goods, some luxury goods, some kind of very high advanced, like, say, for example, Ferrari cars or diamonds or something like that. If their prices fall, their quantity demand falls. Now, this is what actually is the real world. In the real world, you don't have got, like, facility, or you don't have got the luxury of keeping all other factors constant. What you do in theory, when you define the law of demand according to theory, you keep everything constant. You keep income constant, you keep taste constant, you keep fashion constant, you keep traditions constant, you keep family size constant, you keep everything constant. But when you bring that into the real world laboratory, when you just look all of these things or all of these relationships in the real world, they are not exactly the same that actually you have studied in the books. बहुत सारी चीजें इस तरीके की हैं आपके पास, आप जब बुक्स में जो पढ़ते हैं वो कुछ और है, जब आप रियल लाइफ में कर रहे होते हैं वो कुछ और है. This is where the role of applied economics comes, and this applied economics basically will help you apply the conclusions drawn from economic theory and empirical studies to the real world situations with the desired aim of informing economic decisions. Now, like a person who is managing a household, if you teach him the economic theories and if he tries to apply exactly the theories on his economic decisions, he will fail. He will not be able to take right decisions, and he will not be able to actually, get most of his resources if he is just following the theory. You have to, make, or you have to just tell him that what actually the reality is. देखिए, theory में कुछ और होता है, एक दो किस्म की चीजें होती हैं हमारे पास. आपको पता है कि when we study economics books, we study the world of, what that world is called that we study in economics textbooks.
सर क्वेश्चन रिपीट कर दें.
जी, हम जो इकोनॉमिक्स की बुक्स में जो वर्ल्ड पढ़ते हैं उसका क्या नाम देते हैं उसको?
No idea, sir.
No idea. All right, no worries. देखिए, इसको हम
जो क्या
बोलते
पढ़ते हैं?
हैं यूटोपिया. आपने सुना है यूटोपिया के बारे में?
यस सर. जी सर.
क्या है यूटोपिया?
इमेजिनरी वर्ल्ड जहाँ सब कुछ परफेक्ट होता है.
जी, ये जो थियोरेटिकल वर्ल्ड है ना, ये यूटोपिया है. बट वी डू नॉट लिव इन यूटोपिया. वेयर डू वी लिव?
In real world. In real world.
जी, the real world is called dystopia. In contrast to the utopia, we live in the world which is called dystopia. dystopia. This dystopia is a dysfunctional world. This is not something which you actually see in the real, in the textbooks. Things are very different. Like, say, for example, in theoretical books, everybody, yes, they are the right words, dystopia and utopia. So we are living in the world which is dystopia. So what actually this applied economics course will be doing, this will be connecting this utopia with dystopia. There is also one very important concept that you study that is called X inefficiency. X inefficiency basically tells you about that what actually ever is true in theory is not necessarily be true in the real world. Like, say, for example, when you study about the economic imaginary country in the economics books, you find everybody is efficient, everybody is rational. जिस तरह इकोनॉमिक्स की बुक क्या कहती है कि हर कोई रैशनल है, लेकिन रियल वर्ल्ड में लोग रैशनल हैं? व्हाट इज योर व्यू अबाउट इट? क्या आप क्या समझते हैं कि जो रियल वर्ल्ड के जो
No, sir.
No,
डिसीजन
sir.
मेकर्स हैं वो रैशनल हैं?
No,
द
sir.
आंसर इज
No,
नो.
sir.
No,
नहीं सर, they are not rational.
we are not rational. We are not. We buy those things which we should not buy. We do not buy those things which we should buy. देखिए बहुत दफा ऐसी चीज होती है, बहुत से सिंपल से अगर आप चीजों को देखें तो हम लोग ऐसी चीजें खरीद रहे होते हैं जिनको हमें नहीं खरीदना चाहिए, और हम ऐसी चीजें नहीं खरीदते
Exactly.
जिनको हमें खरीदना चाहिए. अगर
Exactly.
हम लोग रैशनल होते
Sir,
सारे के
needs
सारे,
और wants में
जी जी
differentiate नहीं करते.
ऑफ कोर्स, देखिए असल में अगर हम लोग सब के सब रैशनल होते तो पूरी दुनिया में कोई क्राइसिस ना आते. जी
Yes, sir.
Sir, can I say we are not rational just because we do not use the actual tools
no no
of
no no no
economics?
no no, actually we are not mechanized people, we are not robots. देखिए असल में we are humans, and humans basically have got senses, humans have got feelings, humans have got emotions. Humans are very different kind of people, like we are not robots. देखिए एक इकोनॉमिस्ट ने एक थ्योरी बनाई, अगर वो थ्योरी हमारे अंदर वो फिट कर दे और वो एक रोबोट के अंदर फिट कर दी जाए, रोबोट का ये काम है कि एक चीज को उठा के इधर से इधर रखना है और इधर से इधर रखना है, तो दैट इज अ programmed
Sir,
machine.
it means robots are rational, and being
Not
a
there.
human, we
जी
are
जी,
irrational.
very much, very much, very, you are right, very right. If you somehow like if we were robots, we would have perhaps been rational. देखिए rationality क्या है? Rationality ये है कि आप अपने लिए बेस्ट डिसीजन लें, लेकिन हम अपने लिए बेस्ट डिसीजन नहीं लेते हैं. बाज़ औक़ात देखें, जिस तरह मिसाल के तौर पर if I take you the example of the religion, हमें ये पता है कि ये चीज़ हराम है, ये चीज़ हलाल है. हमें ये
Exactly.
चीज़ पता है कि ये करने से हम जहन्नुम की आग में जलेंगे, ये हमारा बिलीफ है, ये ज़ाहिर है बीइंग मुस्लिम एवरीबडी हैज गॉट द बिलीफ कि उसको ज़ाहिर है कि उसको अगर ये काम गलत करेगा तो उसकी सज़ा मिलेगी, एंड दैट सज़ा एंड दैट पनिशमेंट इज फॉर वेरी लॉन्ग पीरियड ऑफ टाइम, एंड दैट इज वेरी सिवियर, बट स्टिल वी डू द थिंग्स बेसिकली दैट वी लाइक टू डू. अब आप उस
But sir,
चीज,
I have some concern.
जी जी
In our previous semester, we just learned the business, sorry, a kind of tree in decision science. I don't remember the actual
द
name.
डिसीजन साइंस.
Where we decision science में हमने एक ट्री बनाया था, I guess decision tree था. सर वहां पे अगर हम उस डिसीजन ट्री को अगर हम लेके चलते हैं तो इट्स डोंट थिंक इट्स क्वाइट क्लोज टू रैशनल थिंग्स, बिकॉज हमारे पास बहुत सारे assumptions होती है. वी नीड टू डू लाइक डू थिंग दिस and we have a this type of outcome, and if we do not do for this thing we do have a that type of options. तो अगर हम ये सारे टूल्स जो मैंने स्टार्टिंग में भी कहा था कि अगर हम टूल्स को लेके भी अपने डिसीजन को लेके चलें तो स्टिल वी कंसीडर एज इरेशनल.
जी देखिए, टूल्स को लेकर चलेंगे तो यू विल नॉट बी कंसीडर्ड एज इरेशनल.
Yes,
Irrational, of course. You will be considered rational if you are following every tool. But do we do that?
बिल्कुल.
देखिए, Quran says you, Hadith says you, life of Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says you.
Everything.
Sahabas actually have told us. All the ulamas basically have told us. Tabi'in have told us that no, that is right, that is wrong. But still we do the wrong things. We leave the right things. Why do we do that? Like आप छोड़े economic decisions को. You just forget about the economic decisions. Basically, देखें वो हम लोग क्यों basically like why do we actually like do against the teachings of Islam? Why do we do things against the teachings of Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Why do we do that? We know that if we do this, we are going to be burned into hell. Like we are actually going to face the consequences of doing something which is not like which is not allowed in Islam. But still we do that. Like this is what actually is the height of irrationality. And similarly in economics, देखिए economics ये कहती है कि आपने जो decision लेना है वो डिसीजन लेना है. मिसाल के तौर पर आप एक 10 रुपए की चीज ले रहे हैं, तो आप उस वक्त वो 10 रुपए की चीज खरीदेंगे जब आपको उससे 10 रुपए की वैल्यू मिल रही होगी. या तो आपको 10 रुपए की वैल्यू मिले या 10 रुपए से ज्यादा की वैल्यू मिले, राइट? अगर आप बाज़ औक़ात ऐसा होता है कि आप जा रहे हैं रास्ते में और एक बहुत ही गरीब आदमी जो कि चीजें बेच रहा है, वो 10 रुपए की चीज है लेकिन आप 100 रुपए की खरीद लेते हैं, ठीक है ना? वो 10 रुपए की चीज है लेकिन आप वो बेच रहा है, तो आपने उसको हेल्प के लिए आपने उसको 10 रुपए की चीज 100 रुपए की दे दी. इकोनॉमिक्स के हिसाब से जो डिसीजन है आपका, ये बहुत ही स्टूपिड डिसीजन है. देखिए, यू हैव इररेशनैलिटी आपका, दैट एक्चुअली यू हैव गॉट अदर रीजंस टू मेक इट रैशनल, कि आप अपनी आखिरत के लिए कर रहे हैं. यू आर जस्ट बेसिकली वांट टू हेल्प अ पर्सन, यू बेसिकली आर generous or something like that, like you want to just help to the person. But economics basically like is something not like, say for example when you talk in pure in value, आप 10 रुपए दे रहे हैं, आपको वैल्यू 10 रुपए की मिलनी चाहिए, 10 रुपए से ज्यादा की मिलनी चाहिए, राइट? अब people like what do you call to those people who wear designers clothes, who wear designer socks, who wear designer shoes? देखिए आप अगर आप एक मोजे की जोड़ी खरीदेंगे तो आप 100-200 रुपए की मोजों की जोड़ी खरीद लेंगे। एक डिजाइनर वाला जो खरीद रहा है वो 2.5 लाख रुपए के मोजे खरीद रहा है। तो है तो मोजे ही, पहनने तो जूते के अंदर ही है और पाँव में ही है।
सब बिकॉज ऑफ डिमांड ना
नहीं आप देखें, आप उसके डिसीजन को क्या बोलेंगे, वो रैशनल है या इरेशनल है?
सर। सर वो रैशनल है, तभी तो उस डिजाइनर ने वो डिजाइन किया होगा, और कोई ना कोई स्टूपिड उस 2.5 लाख में कुछ ना कुछ खरीद तो रहा होगा।
नहीं, नहीं, आप उसे स्टूपिड क्यों
तो
बोल रहे हैं? लाइक स्टूपिड इज
सर
यूर सेइंग।
स्टूपिड मैं इसलिए कह रहा हूँ, स्टूपिड इसलिए मैं
जी जी।
कह रहा हूँ क्योंकि अगर सॉक्स का पेयर है 100 रुपीज का मिला, जिसमें आपने भी एग्जांपल दी कि अगर किसी को आप 10 की रुपीज की कोई चीज प्रोडक्ट है और मैं इसको 100 में करूँ, जब 100 में खरीदता हूँ तो वो इरेशनल है। तो
राइट।
सेम केस इन केस ऑफ अ पेयर ऑफ सॉक्स में, अगर एक सॉक्स मुझे 100 का मिला है, इफ द सेम सॉक्स मेड बाय
नहीं
एनी
सेम
काइंड ऑफ
सॉक्स नहीं
सम वेल
वो
नोन, I mean any this socks kind of socks is made by some well-known designer, and if he or she sell the same socks or for 250,000 rupees, so it means a person is irrational who is going to buying this socks, or a person who is making this socks is the irrational.
this exactly
It's
what
just
I'm trying
because
to
of
say.
demand.
Yes,
अगर
yes,
उसकी
yes,
डिमांड है, जैसे आपने रिसेंटली फास्ट फूड की एग्जांपल दी है,
very
आपने
much.
फास्ट फूड की एग्जांपल दी कि फास्ट फूड आज तक हम वही गिने चुने बर्गर वालों के यहाँ पे हम रोज खाया करते थे। आप हर कोई जगह पे जिसने अपना ब्रांडेड और अपना एक नेम लिखा हुआ है, और वो उससे भी डबल प्राइस पे मिल रहे हैं, और
Very
फिर
much.
भी जो है फास्ट फूड
और
वाले
उनकी डिमांड
माशाल्लाह।
इतनी ज्यादा है कि देखें ना, फूड पांडा बेसिकली इज मेकिंग a lot of money just because
एग्जैक्टली।
just with the delivery of the products that people are buying. तो आप ये सोचिए कि जो businesses हैं, how much money they are making, how much money they are charging. So this is what basically is like, to you it is of course like, for everybody, the different decisions they see in different perspectives. So the purpose of applied economics is to improve the quality of practice in business, public policy, and daily life by thinking rigorously about costs and benefits, incentives, and human behavior. Like that's what basically is something very important. Like if we all were rational, the world would not have seen these big financial crises. We would not have seen disasters at so many places. If everybody was rational, if everybody was working in his best of interests, things would not have gone that bad in the world. Like, there would not have been so much trouble, financial and economic trouble, if we all were rational. But we are not rational. We are not such decision maker who always go for the best decisions for ourselves. So applied economics can involve the use of case studies and econometrics, which is the application of the real world data to statistical models and comparing the results against the theories being tested. So when you look at the applied economics, you look at the theory, you take the data, and you see how this theory is working in the real world. Is the real world really like, doing this, or is the real world really is something that actually is similar to the textbook world? Is this really happening in the real world or not? Like, can you take the example of the theoretical models, and you can use exactly the same model on some empirical, on some like real life situations. So in this course, we introduce students to be able to use analytical framework for understanding how different economic relations work. आपको पता है कि if you look at the economic relationships, what you have observed over the time by studying econometrics, decision science, computer orientation, and other kind of courses, you would have seen that like, there are so many economic relationships working. No variable in the economy moves independently. जो भी कुछ हो रहा है आपके इर्द गिर्द, वो किसकी वजह से हो रहा है? मतलब आपके
बिकॉज ऑफ
पास इस वक्त
इकोनॉमिक्स।
दुनिया में, इस वक्त देखें, इस वक्त सपोज से फॉर एग्जांपल ऑयल प्राइसेस बढ़ रहे हैं। ऑयल प्राइसेस बढ़ने की वजह क्या है?
डिमांड, एक्सेसिव इन डिमांड।
एक्सेस डिमांड, बिकॉज ज़ाहिर एक पार्ट तो ये भी है कि ज़ाहिर आफ्टर दिस pandemic, people are basically like the economies are opening again and things basically are getting back to normal. But another reason is that this oil prices has recently risen because of the war between Russia and Ukraine.
Yes.
This Russia-Ukraine war is causing so much trouble all over the world, and the world is basically looking at this particular kind of a situation with very close like eyes. And now basically today, that the Russia has formally launched war against the Ukrainian people. All right. And what actually has happened in turn, that the petrol prices, the crude oil prices have crossed 102 billion per $102 per barrel. Now, why is this $102, like why the oil is crossing $102 per barrel? Because something else is happening very far from the places where this oil is being produced, or something is happening like in the world. So there are always the relationships, there are linkages. If one thing is happening, this is happening because of something else. Like, say for example, what do you think about that, why inflation in Pakistan is increasing, why our trade deficit is widening, why our growth is not why our economy is not growing? There are always the reasons that you can find in some other variables. So the applied economics is always try to link these all variables together, and they basically try to explain that why is this happening and why is this not happening. And also, through applied economics, you will be able to learn that how can you improve the situations that you are coming across. So after completion of this course, you should be able to use this apply economic theories in business and countries decision making process, use basic econometric techniques on different situations related to economy. And if you look at the course contents, and as the Barkat was asking the question, and actually his question was pertinent in the sense that if you look at the course outline, a majority of the topics that you are looking into the course outline, and the majority of the concepts that actually are mentioned in the course outline are more or less similar to the micro and macroeconomics, the basic micro and macroeconomics. So as I have told you that we are not actually going to study something different in the sense, we will be taking the theories from microeconomics and macroeconomics, and we shall be trying to apply those theories on in the real world situations. We shall be trying to see that what are the applications of those theories, and how can these theories be applied on different kinds of economic situations. Because that will perhaps give you the answer of the question that what is the use of theories that we study in the books, are these theories born and die in the books, or we really practice them? How much is the practice of this particular kind of the things in the real world actually is there? So we will see that the first lecture that we are going to start after the introduction of this particular course outline will be related to the introduction. We will be again talking about the same concepts which you might have studied under microeconomics and macroeconomics, but we will be giving them a different perspective, and we will be giving them a different kind of dimension in the later stages, so that you will be able to apply those understandings of the theories on different kind of situations that you are dealing with, or you just generally come across. So we will be looking at the applications of demand and supply concept. There are so many applications of demand and supply concepts. You have to know, say for example, when a businessman take a decision, like when you as a businessman decide about the price of any commodity, how do you do that? You have to look at the demand, you have to look at your supply conditions, you have to look at where the demand is meeting the supply, and where the demand is more than supply, and where the supply is more than demand, or where the demand is less than supply, or where the supply is less than demand, and how these all inequations basically, or inequalities can change or can help you in terms of applications. So we will be looking at the firms, and we shall be trying to apply the concepts that you have learned under the firm's production and costs, and we shall see that how these concepts are really applied in the real world. We'll be also looking at the market structures. Different market structures include perfect competition, monopoly, oligopoly, and different kind of structures. And we shall see that how the real world, what actually is a kind of a real market structure exists in the world, and how these market structures work. And we will be also looking at some macroeconomic indicators. We'll be looking at the applications of GDP, unemployment, inflation. Now this 6, 7, 8, 9, they are pure from the perspective of applications. We will be learning experiments, that how experiments are performed in economics, and how these experiments work in economics, and what these experiments tell us about economics. If you look at the economics, say for example, when you study chemistry, आप लोगों को स्क्रीन नजर नहीं आ रही है?
नो
सर
सर।
आ रही है नजर।
Uh,
है आ रही, प्लीज कंटिन्यू करें, सॉरी फॉर इंटरप्शन सर।
sorry. So we also will be discussing about the macroeconomic indicators. We shall be looking at that how GDP concept is applied, how unemployment and inflation impact the economy, and how that basically is concepts are applied. And so I was talking about experiments in economics. So we'll be learning about the experiments. Like say for example, when you study chemistry, when you study biology, or you study other physical sciences, you have got very very particular laboratories are available where you perform experiments on different things. Like say for example, when you study biology, you apply these all biological concepts and biological theories on frogs or on cockroaches or on different kind of animals, and you try to see that what happens when you just do this or that with that particular animal. And similarly, when new medicines are uh, like you know uh, introduced in the market, they are tested on rats, on cockroaches, on other kind of the animals, monkeys and other kind of animals. And similarly, you have got the lab of economics as well. The world is the lab of economics, and we have got certain assumptions. We have got a very big lab of economics available, and we can basically perform a lot of economic experiments in different kinds of environments and different kinds of situations. We shall see that how experiments are related to economics and what we learn from those experiments. There are so many people who have learned about the behaviors of the people through different kinds of experiments. They have tried different kinds of situations with them. They have actually given them different kind of options, and things basically have been uh, you know like uh, 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 created for them. A particular environment has been created for them, and the people have observed that how they basically were behaving in different kinds of situations. And we shall be looking at the extraordinary ordinary least squares. You would have learned these ordinary least squares in your regression models, in your econometrics. And I also
सर एक्सपेरिमेंट्स किस तरह के होंगे इकोनॉमिक्स में?
I will like that's what we are going to discuss, and we shall be seeing that how देखिए जितने भी जिस तरह आजकल जो है वो बहुत सारे लोग आपके पास सर्वेज आते हैं, थ्योरीज आपके पास मुख्तलिफ किस्म की सिचुएशंस आती हैं, and the people basically there are so much behavioral economics economists are working on different kinds of situations. So we'll be learning that how these experiments are performed in economics, and what do we learn from those experiments. You can also read them. You can Google these topics on your computers, and you can also learn different kind of things beforehand as well, if you want to see that how these experiments are performed in economics and how these basically experiments are done, and what do we learn from those experiments and with that we conduct in economics. And we shall be learning the applications of these all things through ordinary least squares, and we shall also be looking at some empirical models, and that basically is something we will be doing. The readings that you can actually go with, there are different kinds of books. The name of the first book is a bit weird, but it's a very interesting book, Naked Statistics. So this Naked Statistics is about different. Please, can you wait for a minute? So this book is very interesting. You can download this book and you can study this, and it will try to tell you, because the different statistical techniques that are used to dodge people. देखें आपके पास जिस तरह I was telling you about averages at certain point of time in the last semester. ये जो आपके averages होते हैं, we call them mean. And I told you that why we call them mean, because they basically have got mean interpretations. Mean interpretation means they always tell you the things of the middle. They don't tell you about the extreme things. Like say for example, आपको जो है वो अगर आप पाकिस्तान की जीडीपी पर कैपिटा को देखें, तो पाकिस्तान की जीडीपी पर कैपिटा $1600 पर एनम है पर पर्सन. तो इसका मतलब ये है कि अगर आप 1700 1600 $2000 सपोज करें लगाएं, तो एक फैमिली जो है 5 लोगों की उनकी $10,000 सालाना एवरेज सैलरी होनी चाहिए. और $10,000 का मतलब क्या है कि तकरीबन उनकी जो एवरेज इनकम होनी चाहिए साल की, that has to be around 22 million around, which is not true for of so many families all over Pakistan. So these statistics basically don't give you the true picture. If you could read this Naked Statistics, that will tell you that if you undress these all measures, You will learn what exactly these actually like, these all telling you. Another book is of econometrics book. That is a Woolridge book. I'll be giving you some excerpts from that book, and I'll be telling you the some parts of that book like that you should study and that you should read for understanding of this particular econometrics part of this particular course. This
सर इन सबकी सॉफ्ट कॉपी होंगी?
जी जी बिल्कुल, इनकी सबकी सॉफ्ट कॉपीज अवेलेबल हैं, तो आप लोग खुद भी डाउनलोड कर सकते हैं। तो मुझे, अगर आप इस गुनाह में शरीक ना करें, क्योंकि ये पायरेटेड एडिशंस होते हैं, तो इफ यू कुड लाइक डाउनलोड इट योरसेल्फ, यू कैन डू इट। देयर आर सो मेनी वेज ऑफ
सर आप पे कोई केस नहीं करेगा सर, आप प्लीज शेयर कर दें हमें।
So this naked statistics, Woolridge, available in the libraries, in the different kinds of the shops. Chaudhry's book, Experiments in Economics. One of the students basically was asking that, like, how do these experiments are performed in economics, and what exactly we mean by this experiments. So you can basically look at this book, and you can find out what basically is the nature of economics, experiments in economics. And similarly, there are some papers that you can download. What are economic models? This is a paper published in Finance and Development, IMF. And similarly, there's a Borja's book, Human Capital. We'll be looking at the chapter 6 for some applications. We will be there is some kind of articles like, The Time Please the Economist, Malt Wines, the Economist. So there are different kinds of papers. I'll be keep telling you the references of other papers as well that you can download and you can basically learn. Gee, this is the perhaps website. Yes. So you can also listen to these podcasts, Planet Money. What happens when you just give money to the poor people? Again, Planet Money has got a lot of podcasts. You can use them, or you
What
can
is podcast?
Podcast basically means like the lectures different, which actually are available in the audio and video basically for the people to watch. So there are, can hospitals save money by making doctors come? We'll be learning it. Freakonomics Radio. Freakonomics goes to college, like we'll be talking. Freakonomics, आपको पता है कि एक बहुत बड़ी एक किताब है, which actually was written by Stephen Levitt. Stephen Levitt has written this book, and he has basically also made some kind of videos and podcasts, like which actually, like, say for example, whatever we are doing this, we are recording it, and this podcast will be available afterwards for you to discuss and consult. So you can also listen to the other podcasts that are available, and we shall be also doing some kind of stata tutorials that you have already done some of them in your computer orientation course, and we shall try to see them from the perspective of the things basically that we will be studying here in this particular course.